morning. We'll go ahead and call our Monday meeting of the Allegheny County Board of Commissioners to order. If you would, let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Father, we come to you with a thankful heart tonight, Lord. We just ask, Lord, that the tragedy over in Watauga County, Lord, that you just wrap your hands around those families for comfort and closure, Lord. We pray for those folks. Watch over us and guide us as we go through our meeting, Lord, and bless us to have a straight, healthy meeting, Lord, and with good outcomes, with positivity. Watch over us and guide us. Lead us through our days. Keep us in good health, Lord. But for these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, let's need a motion on the agenda. No changes.
Move, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. We open the floor for public comment at this time. If anybody has anything to talk about, please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm Dale Cavney, and I come to you tonight as a board member with the Blue Ridge Conservancy. About the first part of last month, I was contacted by Charlie Brady, who is the executive director of the Conservancy, and he shared with me that the North Carolina State Parks Director, Dwayne Patterson, was going to be coming in to Boone the end of the month, the end of April, for 3 or 4 days, and Mr. Brady expressed a desire to bring Director Patterson to Allegheny County, and he asked me to set up a meeting with a small group of people, 8 to 10 citizens. And this was an important meeting for us here in the county. North Carolina State Parks manages quite a bit of property here in Allegheny County. There's sections of New River State Park, the entirety of the Bullhead Mountain Natural Area, and then about 1/3 of Stone Mountain State Park, including the ranger station and the campgrounds, are in Allegheny County. But probably the biggest benefit for us, for him coming here, is North Carolina State Parks also manages and administers the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. And so what this meeting was it was an opportunity for local folks here to connect with Director Patterson, especially in the areas of outdoor recreation, promotion of the county, and economic development that's connected to outdoor recreation. So I thought I'd give you just a list of folks that were in that meeting. Francis Huber, Steve Mason, Donnie McCall, Lou Morrison, Lisa Bottomley, Ricky Brown, Ryan Wilmoth, and Mike Polier. And I'll pause there for just a second. These two guys, the town manager and the town councilman, they gave a presentation to the director of state parks about the Krause Park improvements and how the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant that Sparta received, it was $204,000, how that money was utilized here in Allegheny County. And the director actually got to go down to Krause Park and see firsthand how those funds were used. There was also attending was Mark Evans, Ken Richardson, and Bob Bamberg. So this meeting, we held this at Muddy Creek Cafe, and we held it there primarily because they have a private dining room in the back. And it gave the attendees, the state park director, and the Blue Ridge Conservancy staff a chance to get together, interact with one another, look for opportunities for future collaboration. There was a question at the last commission meeting about the payment for a meal there at Muddy Creek. That meal was paid for by private funds. There was no tax money utilized for the meal or for any other part of the meeting. So that's just a really brief update. I would offer, I realize my time's probably getting a little short, but if there's any questions about the meeting, how the meeting was carried out, who was there. I'll be glad to answer those questions and offer any clarification that I can.
Anyone?
I believe this is for public comments and not debate, sir.
It is public comments. It certainly is. We appreciate your comments, sir, Dale.
Yes, sir.
Certainly do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? Seeing none, we'll move on. Move on down to general business. First item, Glade Creek Volunteer Fire Department's request for fund invoices. This is a request for $10,019.76. This is for a repair on a pump at C.W. Williams, which is down Rocky Mount. That is a company that lots of fire departments use for repairs on pumps.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
we have an additional request at our previous meeting on April the 5th, I believe. The date of the letter is April the 5th for $8,000. Unfortunately, just spoke with David Higgins, the chief of the volunteer fire department. He advised me that that pumper is 30 years old. Is that correct? And this is the first time that the pump has had repairs? A note that one of the things that is in here, a pinhole that had rusted out in the pump requiring replacement of a valve. My question is, County Manager Goldfinger, in their reserve funds, do they have $10,019.76?
Yes, sir.
They do have. Then, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we approve the request for the repairs that are itemized in the amount of $10,019.76.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
I think
Go on,
the
sir.
board actually approved 8,000 at the last
did.
meeting, maybe we should just approve the difference.
Very well. Then I will modify my motion to approve $2,019.76 in additional reserve funds to cover the cost of the repairs.
Got a motion for $2,019.76 to finish the balance of that bill. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Bobby second. Any discussion?
Does this come out of fire tax funds?
Fire tax
Okay.
contingency fund. Yep, right.
A reserve.
No more comments. All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Next up, salary line item transfer. April Ham.
Good evening.
Evening.
Just have a couple of line item transfer requests, one from the jail and one from EMS. For the jail, they're requesting $8,000 to be transferred from full-time to part-time salaries. This is basically for the part-time that's had to fill in for a full-time that retired and couldn't be hired back until after the annual leave was paid back. It's an amount of $8,000. EMS is asking for $18,600 to be transferred from full-time salaries, $16,000, from longevity, $2,600, all going to part-time. And this kind of the same situation. They had one retired last year, and we haven't been able to find a couple of full-time paramedics for EMS.
Hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions? No, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, April. To set a budget public hearing date. Any recommendations as what time frame we're looking at, Mr. Carter?
I believe the initial discussion was to find a date sometime, as soon as I get my calendar, sometime the week of the 17th. You have your next scheduled board meeting on the 17th. That is a day meeting. And I believe the request was to have your public hearing on your proposed budget in an afternoon or evening hour so that anyone working would have the opportunity to attend. So I would suggest anywhere between the 18th and 20th, which is Tuesday through Thursday at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever time is most convenient.
On what date?
I would say the 18th, 19th, or 20th, whichever date works best for.
18th works good for me.
How's the 18th?
18th looks good for me at 1,800 hours, so it gives people time to get home from work.
That'll work.
I can, but I would ask, are you tied up on could we do the 17th? The same day, just do a day meeting and then come back that evening?
I could.
Would keep
Good
my
on 17th.
days cleaner.
Doesn't matter.
But
I
I-
mean, I'm free that day.
Here.
17th. What time now?
6 o'clock?
That's fine with me.
Maybe the 18th at 6 p.m.
May I also mention that you will be getting copies of that proposed budget very shortly, so that you'll have ample time to review prior to, have your public hearing, receive public comment, and then we can reconvene and talk about that at the appropriate time.
17th, not the 18th.
17th.
That Monday.
Excuse me, May the 17th. Moving on down, BDC Contract Commissioner John Irwin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have, over the years, a lot of people have said we are watching out for the taxpayer's dollar. Unfortunately, in a few areas, I don't believe that we can quite live up to that standard. On September the 21st, we tabled this measure for 6 months. Now, on September the 21st, the manager advised us that he was having difficulties doing economic development, which is in the contract with the county. That's one of the things, there's about 5 or 6 items in there that are stipulated in the contract. Well, that is a decision that the board for the BDC makes. The manager works at the pleasure of the board. If they want to limit it to that, which limits his ability to perform certain duties, well and good. On August the 3rd, I motioned to rewrite the contract so that we could remove that stipulation for economic development. After all, we've got Allegheny County Economic Development Committee, which is also, the purpose that it has is economic development for the county of Allegheny. On the 20th of September, we received the annual report from the manager, and he stated that everything was going good and that all of the spaces were rented. Well, not exactly, because the license division does not rent. They are given those 2 spaces for no rent, from what I understand. Now, we also found out that on that July the 20th meeting of 2020, of course, that the rent for a space in the Blue Ridge Development Center at that time was $150, although I believe it has gone up to $175. Now, with this, there's everything but the telephone. Initially, it's my understanding that the Blue Ridge Development Center or community was set up so that we could incubate businesses. But we have businesses that have been incubating for approximately 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. Now, on a new business, a lot will fail within the first year. So we are providing incubation, and it also looks like, in my opinion, that we are setting up a hammock at the same time. Now, in discussing with Marcia Wagoner, she gave me a call and she said that, she had 2 people that had applied for space that she had in her business. Primarily, if we're ancient, it was the old pool room. If you're middle-aged, it was where the gym was, and I believe the gym is advertised out there right now. But she could not match that rental, and she lost 2 opportunities for additional income on her business. So in effect, we are competing with our business element by doing this. Now, let's look back. If you started looking at the history of Allegheny County, and this is not this board, this goes back to 1998. Whenever the Allegheny County Economic Development Committee was set up, it was set up to administer a grant for the, what is now Parkdale. The grant bought the land, built the building, and they transferred the land on 1 October 1998. What am I getting at? Whenever we set up a 501c3, a function that could have been handled by the county, you have taken oversight away from the county commissioners. Now, granted, we're going to hear that there was a representative from the county on there, the county manager, town manager. That's great. They could do whatever they wanted to on that board. They could influence the board. County commissioners had absolutely nothing more that we can do. I'll defer to learned counsel. A corporation is an entity. They can purchase, they can hold property, can they not?
Yes, they can.
The board runs that 501c3, does it not? Basically, you got your bylaws and that's it. They're a corporation. So the county commissioners lost out on that one and no more oversight. They transferred the land. There's now $75,000 in that committee. No oversight. The board did not meet for 5 years. They reported on their Form 990 that they had $1.34 million asset that they had transferred 21 years before. Same people, 2 of the same board members are on the BDC. Look what we have at the BDC. We have a part-time manager. The board decides that. Can't influence it. In 2019, we repaired the roof. We replaced all the HVAC systems. We repaved the parking lot, and that was out of county funds. Now, the way the contract is written, they collect these rents of $150, or if it is $175 now, they collect those rents to pay the help, pay the utilities, the expenses and things of this nature, and they run it. We cannot tell them that, okay, you increase the rent $275. If Johnny was running the BDC, then I would, granted, a business that is coming in, it's a new business, $150 a month, but gradually increase the rent. Maybe contribute to upkeep that the county has been taking, has been forking out. I believe, if memory serves me correct, we're looking at about $225,000 plus whenever you started looking at the HVAC system replacement, roof repair, and all the other things. Now, whenever we do this, and we got to admit that we have Wilkes Community College on one end, which pays $1 a year rent. We have a library, which I haven't seen that contract. It's probably $1 a year rent also. So those are things that we are providing as a county for our citizens. No problem with that. Now, I asked the county manager one time if he had experience with the economic development where he used to work. If I remember correctly, you told me that you had had 2 economic developers that didn't perform. he went the way of the dinosaur, and you took over that responsibility, did you not? In a recent email, you noted that Allegheny County is different from any other county that you've ever been associated with. Economic development was a county function, but other entities would support that county function. And that's the way it is surrounding, and that's the way perhaps it should be. Whenever I say that it should be, I know that the county manager that we have has full trust and confidence in me, and I believe he does in the board. Someone, an employee, is given a task and they don't do it, he has no problems getting harder than the lips on a red-headed woodpecker. People can leave. What I would like to see is, frankly, the county cancel that contract. And if we're going to cancel the contract, to remove the requirement that the BDC do economic development, I have no problems with that. But the contract's got to be canceled. We just went through this with the town of Sparta. We had a contract that extended out. We wanted to renegotiate it. We could not renegotiate until we said we were going to cancel. I'd like to see the contract canceled effective July the 1st of the year 2021 so that the county can take it over with proper management. And hopefully we can start a process where we can remove or find some money to buy, or excuse me, to hire, I guess we could say we are buying, where we could hire an economic developer responsible to the county manager. Now, as an adjunct, he can manage the Blue Ridge Development Center. We're talking about the building now. And then we can institute some policies where we can increase the rental and possibly recover some of our funds. Now, right now, we are paying $10,000 a year under our contract to the Blue Ridge Development Center or Committee. So we're not getting any money back. They're collecting the money. We are picking up the big bills. They do the minor repairs. They do the janitorial services for the building. But the biggies we get. As a matter of fact, in this year's budget, we should have over $5,800 to go into the equipment room and become climate controlled, because the thermostat that governs that particular area is located out into the common area, and it's getting too hot in there, and the equipment is suffering. So if we could do this, if my fellow commissioners can see it the way that I see it, we would have an economic developer that would be answerable to the county manager, would have the offices of the county the county to help them in that regard, because right now we can't do anything. If they want to go, if I wanted to open up a house of ill repute, and I applied to the Allegheny County Economic Development Committee right now for some of their $75,000, might be able to get it. But nobody knows about it. It's sitting there. And by the way, the manager of the Blue Ridge Development Center also chairs that board. We've got two boards responsible for economic development. We have another organization that has been formed or is being formed, also saying that they are in charge of economic and business development. And last year we gave them $50,000. We now know, thanks to the Form 990 and the information provided to county, that we are not even paying for that manager's salary of $65,000. So, Mr. Chairman, this is the reason why I would like the cancellation of the BDC contract placed on the agenda tonight, and I will make the motion that we cancel the contract for either permanently or rewriting effective July the 1st.
We have a motion to cancel or rewrite. July the 1st. I hear a second.
I ask a question before you
Yes,
ask
sir.
for the second?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a plan in place to do economic development starting 1 July?
I asked the county manager that question, and his reply was in an email that if he is given that task, and he feels that he will be able to accomplish that task by July the 1st. Am I misspeaking, sir?
I believe what I stated was, if that was the direction of this board,
Correct.
that the proper homework, research, and all those components would need to be done prior to. But if the direction of the board is to move in that direction, then I, as your county manager, will find a way to get it done.
You got a motion, I ask for a second.
I still have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there a time frame that we're looking, are we pushed for a date to cancel this contract, or does it automatically renew, or?
The contract is good, if I remember correctly, for at least another 2 years. And I am saying that we cancel it effective July the 1st.
It says October 1st, 2023.
October the 1st, 2023, 2 years down the line.
Continuation of my question, is that legal to cancel this contract?
Well, the mayor is going to love to hear this, that if we do not, if it's not legal, then we're still under contract with the original contract for the collection of taxes. Same type of contract. I see learned counsel shaking her head.
No, because you have to look at the individual contracts to determine what the terms are as to whether, what rights you have in order to cancel or to terminate a contract. This contract specifically calls for termination on default. So you have to figure out, okay, well, what is default? How is that defined under that section? And it would be Section 7. So don't look at another contract because just because it's a contract doesn't mean it matches this one. Tax contract being totally separate. So don't compare those two. If you look at this one, for default, it says if operator defaults in the performance of or compliance with any of the terms or conditions hereof. Okay, so right there you have to figure out, well, can you find default in the contract by the operator? And that would be something that would have to be material, meaning you could find serious fault in the operation of the facility under this contract.
So on September the 21st of 2020, and if you would like, if you want to go back and you want to watch the film of the meeting, whenever the director stated that he does not have time to do economic development, yet the contract states that they are responsible for economic development, that is not default.
You have multiple different things that they would be doing under this contract. Is that material? Is it substantial? I'm not even sure what economic development would be considered because there's no definitions in this contract. All it says is they would be responsible for economic development activities. I don't know what those activities would be. You don't have any definition section in the contract to determine that, so I think it would be very subjective for anybody to say, well, we put an ad in a magazine, and because they put an ad in a magazine, that could be considered economic development. So it's questionable. I don't know if what it would be considered under the contract.
Under the management of facility, failure to notify the commissioners that they had 46 leaks in the roof and that the HVACs had exceeded their life expectancy and there are no repair parts available?
Sure, I could see how something like that would be an issue. However, it was addressed and now it's been taken care of. And if you feel that there's a breach of the contract, you need to take care of it immediately and then not address the issues for which we're being, a subject of a problem. Because once you do, now you've taken care of it and there's no ongoing problem. You can't say it's an ongoing breach because now it's been fixed. So,
But it was fixed, not by the action of the facility management. It was fixed
right, by the county.
by the county because the commissioner was made aware of the leaks and the
Sure.
obsolescence of the HVAC.
I understand that, and it says the owner will be responsible for those types of repairs. So, yes, it might have exacerbated the issue, however, it is the responsibility of the owner to fix them. So, I don't want to say you agreed with there being a problem. The concern that I would have, though, would be that you didn't say at that time that now you've breached the contract because you didn't do what you're obligated to do, which would be to report there being issues at that time. So I'm not sure how long ago that was, I think a couple years ago. So at this point, I don't think you can say that something that happened several years ago would be considered a breach now. And I don't think all of those would be cumulative, where you could say, well, this happened this year, and then this happened another year, and now say that you think that there's a breach. I would think you'd have to look at the contract as a whole now and say, okay, what is not being done that you could consider a substantial breach of this contract in order to say now that you can terminate under number 7.
Can I ask this question, John? This is a complex issue. Could you modify your motion to table this to give legal counsel a chance to review the document to our next first month meeting?
I would have no objection to that. I will withdraw my motion if you would like to make a motion to table until the first meeting in June.
I would make that motion and give counsel a time to look through the contract and see what her thoughts are.
Okay, John withdrew his motion. Bobby is motioning to table till the first Monday in June, which is a month away. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? None, all in favor? Any nays? 4-1. 4-1 nay. Motion carries. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think as far as the conversations about the breach of contract and the not reporting the roof leaks and all that conversation, I mean, our maintenance staff was in there. Previous manager was here. So as far as the county goes, there was knowledge of all of that stuff ongoing and all the roof leaks ongoing. Previous department head in that department. So, all of that stuff needs to be really considered under the proper light at the time that any of that stuff was going on. I think there's been a huge, I believe, totally opposite. I think there's a huge mischaracterization of what's going on with this contract and what's going on with the services there. And I wouldn't be in favor of changing anything until we knew some kind of a budgetary number, some kind of a plan going forward, some kind of a, what is a different option going to look like for us? And I just wanted to state that for the record.
I'm just speaking from my own experience. Mr. Houck was there back in, and I run into him one day, and he mentioned to me about the leaks, and I went over there, and there was plenty of leaks. I mean, it was a known fact that we was in the need to do something about the roof and the whole system over there.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes,
I may, I will gladly ask anyone to go back and start looking at the film. I brought it in front of the county commissioners numerous times over the year before we finally got around to doing the repairs and getting things done. So Yes. Mr. Osborne, Chairman Osborne, was a backer of that. He found out about it, and Rex Hout brought it to my attention and to his. But it wasn't an immediate response whenever this commissioners were notified of the problems. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on down. RFP for audit services. This is April Lamb.
Evening again. Now we're going to talk about audit services. During the budget process, when the budget committee was going through costs that each department has, the audit is included in the finance office budget. And we wanted to bring this to the board to have a discussion and maybe a decision on how to move forward with this. The audit that has just been presented to the board, which is fiscal year 20, was our last year under the current contract. It can go on a year-to-year basis from here if we'd like to stay with the current firm, or we can put it out for request for proposal and see if we have other audit firms out there that would be interested. Maybe we find somebody that might be cheaper. I'm not sure. Under the current contract, our base fee was $61,900. I actually received an email from Dan Mullinex, the gentleman that was here presenting the audit a few weeks ago. They're going to reduce that by $4,500 if we would like to stay with their firm. So we just wanted to put it out there for discussion with the board and see what we think about this.
I would have no problem sending out RFP.
I have no problems, Mr. Chairman. If you're
See what
making that a motion, I'll be glad to second it.
Questions?
On with me.
Got a motion, and we got a second. Who made the motion?
I'll make a
You
motion.
made. Shell making the motion, John seconded
Second.
that. Any further discussion? None, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
On down to county manager's comments.
Chairman, I have a few tonight. Kind of alluded to it earlier, but the first comment I want to make is the appreciation of our budget committee this year. And I'm appreciative of the board for setting that public hearing date. And I'm going to ask April and Sydney, of course, out of our finance office, Commissioner Bill Osborne and Bobby Irwin and Drew and myself made up the budget committee. And there were a lot of hours and a lot of time put into this year's budget. And we ranged from, I think the earliest we got out on a given day was probably 3.5 hours, and there were days that we were here all day. And we began meeting around mid-March, and we finished up this past Friday. So there's been a lot of time and effort put into this. And I would ask April, you or Sydney, we do have a copy of your proposed budget. It's in the black binders back there. Most noticeably, what you will see from previous years to this year
You trimmed it a lot.
is it
What's the rest
shrank.
of it?
So the days of the wheelbarrow with the book are non-existent now. So I would ask each of you to take that home, look through it. We've tried to index it. We've tried to identify what we consider to be the highlight reels that were involved with the process and become familiar with it over the next couple of weeks prior to. Of course, if you have any questions concerning any of that, we are all available to discuss it with you in more detail. The second item is this past Friday, Commissioner John Irwin also provided me with a copy of the draft animal control ordinance that has been another consideration this year. And I don't know if I'm lucky or not, but I wasn't involved in that committee. So I know that Commissioner John and Bobby Irwin and Heather spent a lot of time on that, so I will get that out to each of you also. I believe it's something that we should all look at. And I don't mean this in the wrong way, but look at, mark up, and be ready to talk about, because that's what drafts are for. The next one is just a notice. Received word earlier from Rita up in her tax office that due to some medical leaves that have came up this Friday, the tax office will be closed. And tag office. And they have requested approval from DOT, which before we came in here, I did not see if that had been granted, but that is the plan for now, for the tag office to be closed. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you, sir. County Commissioner comments. Start over on the right side today. Mr. Evans.
Thank you for the easier to carry around copy of the budget. And thank all of you for the time and effort that you put into it, the whole committee. I know passed through here lots of days and you had your work clothes on and sleeves rolled up and a lot into it. Earlier, we had a work session and Brian Shuping and Rhonda and Donald were here with VIA. It was a great presentation that they put on, a time to do some question and answering a little bit, share some of our concerns that we hear as commissioners, and looking forward to continuing to sort of work through that here in the next month or two. And just, I'm kind of putting this out for the county because some of the challenges are there's needs and there's services available, and getting them connected and getting them on the same page and finding out where they are. So we want to try to work on that. But also there may be some gaps identified hopefully through this that we'll be able to do all we can together. So thank those for coming, and hopefully we can improve our services in that area for the county. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Bobby.
I don't want to steal John's thunder for the animal ordinance, but Bob Lane, the town manager, Ron Wilmuth was involved in it. Nick Hawks, Nash Williams was also part of that group. So we had a mixture of a lot of different people, and there was input from the wildlife officer also. The health department, I think, is right for right now. They finished with the black building, unless something changes and science and situations change. But as of right now, they Friday was their last day at the black building. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bobby. Don't have much myself, just thanks to the Budget Committee for their hard work and the animal control. I know that's been a challenge. I've been hearing a lot about it, and for all those that were on that committee, we certainly give them our thank yous and appreciate all the work they put into that. And the disaster relief fund is still going on for the earthquake folks. If they have needs for household, not building material, but living, why, go check with Daniel Roten. That's where the process starts, and fill out a little application, and that'll get that in motion. That's about all I have. Commissioner Luffman.
I would like to also echo those sentiments. I'd also like to say to the citizens of Allegheny that, this fire tax that we voted on and passed, you can see the need for it tonight. We had a fire department who would have been in probably some pretty dire straits if we didn't have this fire tax to help them out with their tanker, their pump. So it's a good thing we have it. And I would also like to say that, like Mark said, we worked with VIA tonight. you know, mental health issues are one of the leading issues nationally right now. It seems like everything comes back around to mental health issues, whether it be, you know, violence, drugs, family issues, whatever. At the root of it is mental health issues. So I want you all to know that we care about mental health services for Allegheny citizens. We know that there is some gaps, there is some lacking that is going on, and we are going to work with VIA to hopefully iron out that situation. And if you have concerns or needs, please contact us and let us know, because we will be meeting with VIA again. That's all I have.
Commissioner Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Early in my career, whenever you get to a certain point as far as rank, protocol becomes important. And fortunately, I had a real good sea-bag daddy in Master Gunnery Sergeant Peak that would show me the ins and outs of protocol. What are we talking about? The director of the Blue Ridge Development Center mentioned about the meeting with the Parks and Director. I have in front of me a copy of the email that we would not have received if a member of the town council had not sent it to us, because frankly, all but 2 members were not included on the initial email. It was sent from the Blue Ridge Development Center. Now, if you send it out under that heading, you own it. If you don't want to own it, you send it out under your personal email. Leaving off, what got me was what was left off. County manager. County manager has a Parks and Recreation division, but he was not included. Town council was not included, but the mayor and the town council and the town manager was, which is proper, because they are in the hierarchy, they are up there. Now, we were told that town manager was a presenter. When do you invite a presenter? Don't invite a presenter. They're automatically on there. It is stated that members of the business community and political personages, they didn't use that word, but that's what it is. 2 of them are retired. They don't have businesses anymore. They sold out. But I want to read the last paragraph. The Blue Ridge Business Development Center will host Mr. Patterson on Friday, April the 23rd at 1200 p.m. at Muddy Creek Cafe. You are invited to attend and lunch will be provided. This is verbatim. Doesn't say anything about I'm paying for it. Taxpayer money goes to the Blue Ridge Development Center to the tune of $10,000. Protocol. That's all my comments, Mr. Chairman. God
Thank you.
bless America.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion to adjourn, the
Second.
second, all in favor? Thank everybody for coming. Appreciate you coming out tonight.
Just feel it.